Welcome back to True Soul Stories. If you're here for part 3, you absolute legends, drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from. Are you Team Rachel? Team Minha? Or are you just here for the chaos? Because what you're about to witness is the most intense conclusion you could possibly imagine. If you haven't watched parts 1 and 2, stop right now and go back, because this finale will only make sense if you know everything that's happened. And trust me, you don't want to miss a single second of how this ends. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because after this, nothing will ever be the same. The bullet shattered the window behind Rachel's head, missing her by inches. She dropped to the floor of her apartment, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might burst from her chest. Glass rained down around her as 2 more shots followed, systematic, calculated, meant to terrorize more than kill. At least for now. This was the 3rd attempt on her life in as many days. Saying okay wasn't just threatening anymore. He was hunting. Rachel crawled toward her phone, keeping low, her hands shaking as she dialed Director Kong. He answered on the first ring. "I'm 2 minutes away," he said before she could speak. "Stay down, stay away from the windows. My team is already moving into position." "He's escalating." Rachel gasped, her voice tight with adrenaline. "The first time was a car that tried to run me down. Yesterday someone poisoned my coffee at the cafe. Now this. He's not playing games anymore, Kong. He wants me dead. I know. Which is why we're moving up the timeline. We can't wait any longer." Rachel closed her eyes, tried to steady her breathing. It had been 2 weeks since she'd made the decision to go after Seng-ok. 2 weeks of planning, gathering intelligence, coordinating with Kang's people and what remained of Minha's loyal associates. 2 weeks of visiting Minha in detention and lying to his face about how safe she was, because she couldn't bear to see the helpless fear in his eyes knowing he couldn't protect her. 2 weeks of becoming someone she barely recognized. The sound of footsteps in the hallway made her tense. Were they Kang's people or Seng-ok's? She grabbed the knife she'd started keeping under the couch, a pathetic weapon against guns, but better than nothing. The door burst open, and Rachel nearly screamed before she recognized Kang's face, followed by 4 armed officers. "Clear," one of them called after sweeping the apartment. Kong helped Rachel to her feet, his expression grim. "Pack a bag. You can't stay here anymore. We're moving you to a secure location until this is over." "No." Rachel's voice was steadier than she felt. "No more hiding. We've been gathering intel for 2 weeks, and Seng-ok keeps finding me anyway. He has someone on the inside, someone feeding him information. Running won't change that. Rachel, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. We need to draw him out, and I'm the bait he can't resist." Rachel moved to her bedroom, started pulling out clothes not to pack, but to change into something more practical. "You said yourself we're running out of time. Minha's trial starts in 4 days. Once he's transferred to prison, Seng-ok will have even more opportunity to make his move. We end this now, tonight, or we might not get another chance." Kong followed her, clearly torn between professional caution and the knowledge that she was right. "What are you proposing?" "I'm proposing we stop reacting and start acting." Rachel pulled on dark jeans, a black jacket, boots meant for running. Seng-ok thinks I'm a frightened girl playing at being brave. Let's show him exactly how wrong he is. "You've been talking to Yunwoo too much," Kong muttered. "She's been teaching you things, hasn't she?" Rachel smiled without humor. "She's been teaching me how to survive in a world of predators. Seems relevant given my current situation." What Rachel didn't tell Kong was just how much Yunwoo had taught her over the past 2 weeks. The ex-wife, living in protective custody and eaten alive by guilt, had become an unlikely mentor. She'd taught Rachel how to read people, how to spot tails, how to defend herself, how to think like someone in Seng-ok's position. It had been strange, learning from the woman who'd once tried to have her killed, but necessity made for odd alliances. And Rachel had learned well. "We have a location," one of Kang's officers called from the living room. "We tracked the shooter's trajectory. He fired from a building 3 blocks north. My team is moving to intercept." "Wait," Rachel said quickly. "Don't intercept. Follow him. He'll lead us back to wherever Seng-ok is operating from." Kong raised an eyebrow. "That's risky. If we lose him." "We won't, because I'm going to make sure he has a reason to report back to Seng-ok immediately." Rachel pulled out her phone, opened her social media. She'd kept it active despite the danger, another piece of bait. "I'm going to post that I'm done hiding. That I know Seng-ok is scared to face me directly, so he sends his lackeys. That I'm challenging him to meet me, tonight, at the warehouse district in Ganshin where Marcus was held. The symbolism will be too much for him to resist." "That's insane," Kong said flatly. You'll be walking into a trap. No, I'll be setting one. There's a difference. Rachel's fingers flew across her phone screen. You'll have teams positioned around the entire area. Snipers on the roofs, tactical units ready to move in. I go in wired, you monitor everything. The moment Sang-ok shows himself and makes a threat, you have him on tape and you move in for the arrest. And if he just decides to kill you on sight, then I hope your snipers are as good as you claim they are. Rachel posted the message, a direct challenge to Sang-ok that would definitely reach him within minutes. Besides, he won't kill me immediately. He's too arrogant. He'll want to gloat, to tell me how clever he is, to make sure I know how thoroughly he's beaten Minha. That's when we get him. If you think this plan sounds crazy, you're right. Drop a like if you're on the edge of your seat. Kong stared at her for a long moment, then pulled out his phone and started making calls. You have 4 hours to prepare. I'm bringing in every asset I have. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If this goes wrong, Minha will never forgive me. Hell, I'll never forgive myself. Rachel touched his arm gently. It won't go wrong. We've got this. But even as she said the words, doubt gnawed at her. She was gambling everything on her read of Sang-ok's psychology, on the assumption that his arrogance would override his caution. If she was wrong, she'd be dead before Kang's teams could reach her. Still, what choice did she have? Keep running while Sang-ok picked off everyone she loved one by one? Live the rest of her life looking over her shoulder? No. Better to face the monster now, on her terms, than wait for him to strike when she was truly vulnerable. She thought about Minha, locked in detention, unaware of what she was about to do. She'd visit him one last time before the operation, but she wouldn't tell him the truth. She'd lie, smile, tell him everything was fine and that she'd see him tomorrow. Because if things went wrong tonight, she wanted his last memory of her to be a happy one. 3 hours later, Rachel sat in an unmarked van 2 blocks from the warehouse district, being fitted with a wire by one of Kang's technicians. Yunwoo sat across from her, having insisted on being present despite the danger. You don't have to do this, Yunwoo said quietly. There are other ways to get Sang-ok. Are there? Rachel challenged. Because from where I'm sitting, every other option gives him more time to hurt people. More time to plan. More time to destroy what's left of Minha's life. Minha wouldn't want you risking yourself like this. Minha doesn't get a vote right now. He's in detention because he chose to protect me and do the right thing. The least I can do is finish what we started. Rachel met Yunwoo's eyes. You understand that, don't you? You loved him once. You know he'd do anything to protect the people he cares about. Yunwoo's expression was complicated, layers of regret, and old love and new understanding. I do know, and I know I threw that away because I was too scared to be strong enough for him. Don't make my mistake, Rachel. But also don't die trying to be brave. There's a difference between courage and suicide. I know the difference. Rachel finished strapping on the protective vest under her jacket. It would stop most handgun rounds, but wouldn't save her from a headshot or rifle fire. Still, it was something. I'm not trying to be a hero. I just want this to end so Minha and I can finally have the life we deserve. The technician finished with the wire. You're live. We'll hear everything. See everything through the camera on your collar. Remember, if things go south, you say the word lighthouse, and we come in immediately. No waiting. Lighthouse. Got it. Rachel stood, checked her phone. Her post had blown up, thousands of comments and shares, and more importantly, she'd received a direct message from an unknown account. Brave words from a dead woman walking. Come alone to Warehouse 7. Midnight. Let's see if you're as tough as you pretend. It was 11:30 p.m. now. Time to move. Kong met her outside the van, his face creased with worry. My teams are in position. Snipers have clear sight lines on all entrances to Warehouse 7. Tactical units are staged within 30 seconds of your location. But Rachel, if he has hostages, if he set up explosives, if there are any complications we haven't anticipated, then we adapt. That's what we've been doing this whole time, right? Adapting, surviving, fighting back. Rachel managed to smile. Have a little faith, Director. We're going to win this. I hope you're right. Rachel started walking toward the warehouse district, her heart pounding, but her steps steady. The streets were empty this time of night, the industrial area abandoned except for security lights that cast long shadows. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, to run, to choose safety over this confrontation. But she kept walking, because somewhere in a detention cell, Minha was waiting for her. Because her siblings were safe but traumatized, and they deserved to live without fear. Because people like saying okay only won when good people were too scared to fight back. So she'd fight. Warehouse 7 loomed ahead, a massive structure of corrugated metal and broken windows. The main entrance was open, inviting, obviously a trap. Rachel paused at the threshold, let her eyes adjust to the darkness inside. "I'm here," she called out, her voice echoing. "As requested. Alone. Where are you, Sing, okay? Too scared to face me." For a moment, nothing. Then lights flickered on, revealing the warehouse interior. It was empty except for a figure standing in the center, and Rachel's blood ran cold. It wasn't Sing okay. It was Minha. But that was impossible. Minha was in detention, secured, safe. Except the man standing in front of her looked exactly like him, down to the scar on his left hand from a knife fight years ago. "Hello, Rachel," the man said, and his voice was Minha's voice. "Surprised to see me?" Rachel's mind raced, trying to understand. A twin? A doppelganger? Some kind of elaborate disguise? "Who are you? I'm hurt you don't recognize your own boyfriend." The man smiled, but it was wrong. Too cold, too cruel. Or maybe you're finally realizing that you never knew him at all. And then it clicked, pieces falling into a picture so horrible Rachel nearly collapsed. Minha doesn't have a brother, does he? There is no Sing okay. There's only you. Here's where everything, and I mean everything, you thought you knew gets destroyed. Hit that subscribe button right now because you need to tell everyone about this twist. The man who looked like Minha laughed, genuine amusement in his voice. "Now she gets it. Took you long enough. Did you really think the story was that simple? Evil older brother returns from the dead to steal back his empire? Please. I expected better from you, Rachel." Rachel's legs felt weak, but she forced herself to stay standing. "I don't understand. I saw the evidence, the documents, the recordings. All fake. Well, not entirely fake. Embellished. Manipulated. Edited to tell the story I wanted told." The man circled her slowly, predatory. "You see, there never was a Lee Sing okay. I'm Lee Minha. I've always been Lee Minha, the only son of the Lee family. But the divorce, Yunwoo, the evidence she gave us. Yunwoo believes what I wanted her to believe. She was given carefully doctored evidence by a man she thought was my brother, a man who was actually my associate in disguise, following my instructions perfectly. He stopped in front of her. I needed a villain, Rachel. Someone for you to fight against. Someone who would make you feel strong and brave and determined. Someone who would push you to your absolute limits." Rachel felt like she was falling through ice. Everything she thought was solid shattering beneath her. "Why? Why would you do this?" "Because I needed to know." Minha's, the real Minha's, expression was intense, obsessive. "I needed to know if you truly loved me, or if you were still the girl who came to that club looking for a meal ticket. I needed to see how far you'd go, what you'd sacrifice, who you'd become when everything was on the line." "You staged all of this? The kidnapping, the raids, the trial, all of it?" "Not all of it. Some pieces were real. Your feelings were real. I believe that now. But I had to test them, had to push you to see if you'd break." He reached out to touch her face, and Rachel flinched away. "And you passed, Rachel. You became exactly what I needed you to become. Strong, fierce, willing to fight for what you love. You're perfect now." Rachel felt bile rise in her throat. "You're insane." "I'm thorough. There's a difference." Minha glanced around the warehouse. "You're wondering about Director Kong right now, about your backup. Don't bother. Kong has been on my payroll for years. The tactical teams, the snipers, they're all my people. There is no rescue coming, Rachel. There's only you and me and the choice you're about to make." "What choice?" Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. "The choice to stay with me, knowing what I am, what I've done. Or the choice to try to leave, knowing that I'll never let you go." Minha stepped closer. "I love you, Rachel. More than anything. More than power. More than money. More than my own life. But I needed you to be strong enough to stand beside me, not just warm my bed. I needed you to be forged in fire until nothing could break you. You terrorized my family. You put my siblings through hell. I kept them perfectly safe. Uncomfortable, yes. Scared, absolutely. But unharmed. They were never in real danger, Rachel. Everything was controlled, calculated. Even the attempts on your life, they were meant to miss. To push you, not kill you." Rachel's hands clenched into fists, rage replacing shock. "You're a monster. I'm a man who knows what he wants and will do anything to get it." Minha's voice was calm, matter of fact. "I want you, Rachel. The strong, fierce, unbreakable version of you that I helped create. And now that you've been tested, now that you've proven yourself, We can finally build the empire we're meant to rule together. I will never forgive you for this. You don't have to forgive me. You just have to stay. Minha pulled out a gun, not pointing it at her, but making its presence known. Because the alternative is that you try to leave, and I can't allow that. You know too much, you've become too important. If you're not with me, you're a liability. And I don't allow liabilities to exist. Rachel's mind spun, trying to find a way out, trying to understand how everything had gone so catastrophically wrong. The man she loved, the man she'd been willing to die for, had orchestrated an elaborate psychological torture campaign just to test her loyalty. Had manipulated her, used her, transformed her into something she never wanted to be. And the worst part? A small, sick part of her understood why he'd done it. In his twisted logic, this was love. Possessive, obsessive, destructive love, but love nonetheless. I need time, Rachel said, forcing her voice to stay level even as her thoughts raced. To process this. To understand. You have until I count to 10 to decide. Stay and be mine, forever, in full knowledge of what that means. Or try to run, and discover just how far my reach extends. Minha's smile was gentle, affectionate, completely at odds with the horror of what he was saying. 1. Rachel's hand moved to her collar, to the wire she was wearing. But if Kong was working for Minha, then no one was listening. No one was coming to save her. She was completely alone. 2. She thought about her siblings, safe now, but forever changed by what they'd experienced. She thought about Yunwoo, who genuinely believed she was helping expose a conspiracy. She thought about all the people Minha had used as pawns in his game. 3. She thought about the life they could have had. The normal, quiet existence she'd dreamed of. The version of Minha she'd fallen in love with, tender and vulnerable and real. Had any of that been genuine, or had it all been performance? 4. Rachel's hand brushed against something in her jacket pocket. The knife Yunwoo had given her 2 weeks ago, a gift from one survivor to another. Such a small weapon against a man with a gun, but maybe, if she was fast enough, desperate enough. 5. Wait, Rachel said, holding up her hands. Just wait. Let me ask you something. Minha paused, curious. Ask, if I stay, if I choose you, does the manipulation end? Do we build something real? Or is this just the beginning of a lifetime of tests and games? That depends on you. Prove your loyalty completely, and you'll never need to be tested again. We'll be partners, equals, ruling together. Betray me, and you'll discover that this was the gentle option. Minha's expression softened slightly. I don't want to keep testing you, Rachel. I want to trust you. Give me reason to. Rachel nodded slowly, as if considering this. She took a step closer to him, then another. You want loyalty? Devotion? Proof that I'm strong enough to stand beside you. Yes. Then let me show you exactly what you've created. Rachel lunged forward, not with the knife, but with her hands, going for Minha's gun. He was fast, but she'd spent 2 weeks training with Yunwoo, learning to fight, to survive. She caught his wrist, twisted hard, and the gun clattered to the concrete floor. Minha's expression shifted from surprise to something almost like pride. There she is. There's my fighter. They grappled, and Rachel discovered that all his talk of tests hadn't been entirely lies. He was holding back, not trying to hurt her seriously, just defending himself, which gave her the opening she needed. She brought her knee up hard into his stomach, broke his grip, and dove for the gun. Her fingers closed around it just as Minha recovered, started toward her. Rachel pointed the gun at him, her hands steady despite her racing heart. Stop. Don't move. Minha froze, then smiled. You won't shoot me. You love me too much. You're right, I do love you. Or, I love the man I thought you were. Rachel's voice broke slightly. But that man doesn't exist, does he? He never did. You're just a monster wearing his face. Rachel. Shut up. Just shut up and let me think. Rachel kept the gun trained on him while her mind raced through options. She couldn't trust Kong if he was really working for Minha. She couldn't trust anyone who'd been part of this operation. She was completely alone, holding a gun on a man who'd proven he'd do anything to keep her. But wait, something didn't add up. If Minha really had orchestrated everything, if he really controlled all the pieces, why would he corner her here like this? Why reveal the truth at all instead of just continuing the manipulation indefinitely? Unless he was lying now. Unless this was another test, another layer to the game. Prove it, Rachel said suddenly. Prove that you're really in control. Call Director Kong. Have him come in here and confirm he's working for you. Minha's expression flickered, just for a second, and Rachel knew. He was bluffing. Not about everything, maybe not even about most things, but about something crucial. Rachel, put the gun down. Let's talk about this rationally. Call him. Now. Or I will put a bullet in your leg and walk out of here. You're making a mistake. The sound of footsteps echoed through the warehouse, and this time they came from multiple directions. Rachel spun, trying to track all the sounds, the gun wavering between targets. Director Kong emerged from the shadows, and with him were the tactical teams Rachel had been promised. But they weren't pointing their weapons at Rachel. They were pointing them at Minha. Lower your weapon, Rachel, Kong said calmly. We've got him. Rachel's gun didn't lower. How do I know you're really here to help? He said you were working for him. He lied. Again. Like he's been lying about everything. Kong moved closer, carefully, hands visible. We've been listening to every word. The real tactical team, not whatever fake scenario he tried to sell you. Rachel, you were never alone. We were always here. But he said, he's a manipulative sociopath who's been gaslighting you for months. Don't believe anything that comes out of his mouth. Kong gestured to his team. Secure him. Comment below if this twist just broke your brain, because we're not done yet. The tactical team moved in, but Minha didn't resist. He kept his eyes on Rachel, his expression unreadable. You really think this is over? You think they can hold me? Shut up, Kong snapped. Lee Minha, you're under arrest for conspiracy, kidnapping, fraud, and about 50 other charges we're still compiling. You have the right to remain silent, and I strongly suggest you use it. As they cuffed Minha, Rachel finally lowered the gun, her whole body starting to shake with delayed reaction. Yunwoo appeared from another entrance, her face pale, but her eyes sharp. Is it really over? Rachel asked. It's over, Yunwoo confirmed. The real Minha, the one you fell in love with, he's still in detention where he's been this whole time. This man, he's Minha's cousin, Lee Jinwoo. He's been impersonating Minha for weeks, building this elaborate scheme too. Honestly, we're still not entirely sure why. Rachel felt like the ground was tilting again. His cousin? The family resemblance is uncanny, and with some makeup, coaching on mannerisms, he pulled off the impersonation. The real Minha has been going crazy in detention, saying something was wrong, that someone was using his identity. We thought it was paranoia until we started digging deeper. Yunwoo moved to Rachel's side, steadied her. The real conspiracy, the one we uncovered while investigating Sing-Ok, led us here. Jinwoo has been embezzling from the organization for years. When Minha started cooperating with authorities, Jinwoo knew his crimes would be exposed. So he created this elaborate plot to discredit Minha further, drive you away, and escape with the fortune he'd stolen. Rachel stared at the man being led away in handcuffs. He looked so much like Minha, but now that she knew, she could see the differences. The eyes were slightly different shade. The scar on the hand was makeup. The voice was close, but not quite perfect. So the real Minha, he didn't do any of this? No. He's exactly who you thought he was. A man who fell in love with you, sacrificed his empire for you, and has been sitting in detention terrified that you were in danger and he couldn't help you. Yunwoo smiled slightly. He's going to be very relieved when we tell him you're safe. Rachel sat down hard on the concrete floor, overwhelmed. I almost shot him. I thought the man I loved had turned into a monster. But you didn't shoot him. You questioned, you tested, you trusted your instincts. Kong crouched beside her. Rachel, you've been incredibly strong through all of this. But it's okay to fall apart now. You're safe. It's really over. The tears came then, relief and exhaustion and residual terror all flooding out. Yunwoo sat beside her, put an arm around her shoulders, and just let her cry. After several minutes, Rachel wiped her eyes and looked up at Kong. I want to see him. The real Minha. I need to see him right now. We'll arrange it. But Rachel, there's something else you should know. Kang's expression was serious. Because of the new evidence about Jinwoo's embezzlement and frame-up, and because Minha's cooperation led us to uncover an even larger conspiracy, the prosecutors are dropping most of the charges against him. He'll probably serve 6 months for the lesser offenses, maybe less with good behavior and time served. He's going to be free soon. Rachel's breath caught. Free? Really free. Really free. To build that normal life you both wanted. Rachel started crying again, but this time from joy. 3 days later, Rachel sat in the detention center visiting room, waiting. The door opened, and Minha walked in, looking tired and thinner than she remembered, but undeniably himself. The real him. Their eyes met, and for a moment neither of them moved. Then Rachel was across the room, and he was holding her, and they were both crying and laughing and trying to talk over each other. I'm so sorry, Minha said into her hair. I couldn't protect you. I couldn't warn you. They wouldn't let me communicate, and Jinwoo was using my identity, and I was going insane thinking you were in danger. I'm okay. I'm okay, and you're okay, and it's over. Rachel pulled back to look at his face, really look at him. It's really you, right? Not another trick, not another test. It's really me. I promise. Minha cupped her face gently. Rachel, I love you. Not because you're strong or fierce or any of the things Jinwoo was trying to manipulate you into becoming. I love you because you're you. The woman who makes me laugh, who challenges me, who sees me as human. That's all I've ever wanted. I love you too. So much. Rachel kissed him, and it felt like coming home after a long, terrible journey. When you get out, we're leaving. Both of us. We're going somewhere quiet, somewhere normal, and we're building the life we deserve. What about your siblings? Marcus and Emily are moving to Seattle. Fresh start, away from all of this. We'll visit, stay close, but they need space to heal. Rachel smiled through her tears. We all do. Seattle sounds nice. We could go there too. Or maybe Boston. I've always wanted to see the East Coast in fall. Boston it is. Minha kissed her again, gentle and sweet. Thank you for not giving up on me. On us. Thank you for being worth fighting for. They sat together for the remainder of the visit, making plans, dreaming about their future, holding on to each other like lifelines. And for the first time in months, Rachel felt genuine peace. 6 months later, Rachel stood in a small apartment in Boston, unpacking boxes. It was nothing like Minha's penthouse in Busan, cramped and old and perfect. Their new life was simple, quiet, deliberately normal. Minha had been released 3 weeks ago, and they'd left Korea immediately. He'd liquidated his remaining assets, set up trust funds for people who'd been hurt by the organization, and walked away from everything his family had built. Now he worked as a consultant for a security firm, using his strategic mind for legitimate purposes. Rachel had enrolled in a graduate program for psychology, finally pursuing her dream of becoming a child psychologist. They grocery shopped together, binge-watched TV shows, argued about whose turn it was to do dishes. It was boring and domestic and absolutely wonderful. I think I put the books in the wrong box, Minha called from the bedroom. Have you seen anything labeled office supplies? Try the one marked kitchen, Rachel called back. I may have mislabeled a few things. Minha emerged, holding a box clearly marked kitchen that was full of books. You're terrible at this. And yet you love me anyway. And yet I love you anyway. He set down the box and pulled her close. Are you happy? Really happy? Rachel thought about everything they'd been through. The manipulation, the danger, the terror. The moments of genuine love buried under layers of conspiracy. The strength she'd found in herself. The choices she'd made. The person she'd become. Yes, she said honestly. I'm really happy. Are you? More than I ever thought possible. Minha kissed her forehead. Though I do miss the ocean sometimes. Boston Harbor isn't quite the same as Houndy Beach. We can visit Korea someday. When enough time has passed, when it's safe. Maybe. Or maybe we build new memories in new places. Start fresh, completely. Start fresh, Rachel agreed. I like the sound of that. They returned to unpacking, the comfortable silence of two people who'd been through hell together and come out stronger. The boxes slowly emptied. The apartment slowly became a home. That evening, as they sat on their small balcony watching the sun set over Boston, Rachel's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations on your new life. You've earned it. Stay safe, stay happy, and maybe one day our paths will cross again under better circumstances. Why? Rachel showed the message to Minha. Yunwoo. Probably. She disappeared after everything came out about Jinwoo. Witness protection, maybe, or just chose to vanish. Minha wrapped his arm around Rachel's shoulders. Are you going to respond? Rachel thought about it, then deleted the message. No. That chapter is closed. Time to focus on this one. Good call. They sat together as the sky turned purple and gold. Two people who'd survived an impossible situation and found their way to something real. The past would always be there, scars and memories that couldn't be erased. But the future stretched ahead, full of possibility and promise. And for the first time in their entire relationship, they were finally free to simply be together. No empires, no conspiracies, no tests or games. Just Minha and Rachel, building a life one normal, beautiful day at a time. But of course, because this is their story, normalcy couldn't last forever. 2 months into their Boston life, Rachel came home from class to find Minha on the phone, his expression tense. She waited until he hung up before asking what was wrong. That was Director Kong. They found Jin-woo dead in his cell. Apparent suicide, but Kong doesn't believe it. He thinks someone got to him. Rachel felt a chill run down her spine. Who? That's the question. Jin-woo was about to testify about the larger conspiracy, the people who'd been helping him, the network of corruption he'd been part of. Whoever killed him wanted to keep those secrets buried. Minha ran his hand through his hair, a gesture Rachel recognized as stress. Kong thinks we might still be in danger. That whoever ordered the hit might come after us next, tie up loose ends. So what do we do? Minha looked at her, and Rachel saw the old calculation in his eyes, the strategic mind that had built an empire. We could run again. New city, new identities, disappear completely. Kong could help us. Or, Rachel prompted, because she could see there was an alternative in his mind. Or we finish what we started. We help Kong expose the entire network, bring down everyone involved, and end this permanently. Minha's voice was steady, but his eyes held a question. But that means giving up this normal life we've built, at least temporarily. It means danger again, conspiracy again, becoming the people we were trying to leave behind. Rachel walked to the window, looked out at the Boston street below. A mom walked by with a stroller. A teenager carried groceries. Normal people living normal lives, blissfully unaware of the darkness that existed in the shadows. She thought about Marcus and Emily, finally healing from their trauma. She thought about the life she and Minha had been building, simple and safe, and everything she dreamed of. She thought about all the people who would be hurt if this conspiracy wasn't stopped. All the lives that would be destroyed by the network of corruption that had used Jin-woo, and probably countless others. We finish it, Rachel said finally, turning back to Minha. We end this permanently, no matter what it takes. Because I don't want to spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, wondering if today is the day they come for us. Minha smiled, proud and sad at the same time. I was hoping you'd say that. Besides, Rachel added with a slight smile of her own, we're really good at taking down conspiracies. Practice makes perfect, right? Right. Minha pulled her into his arms. But after this, after we really end it, we come back here and we never leave. Deal. Deal. They held each other as the sun set on Boston. Two people who'd tried to escape their past only to discover it wasn't finished with them yet. But this time would be different. This time they were together, equal partners, fully honest with each other. This time, they'd win. And then, finally, they'd get the peace they'd earned. 1 year later, the network was exposed. Dozens of arrests, from low-level operatives to high-ranking officials in multiple countries. The conspiracy that had used Jin-woo reached further than anyone had imagined, touching governments, corporations, criminal organizations across Asia and beyond. Minha and Rachel's testimony was crucial. They spent months working with international investigators, providing evidence, connecting dots. It was exhausting and dangerous and nothing like the normal life they wanted. But when it was finally over, when the last arrest was made and the last testimony given, they returned to Boston. To their small apartment, their regular jobs, their beautifully boring routine. Marcus visited from Seattle, brought Emily with him. They were healing, slowly but surely. Emily was even dating someone, a fellow student who made her laugh. Marcus had started a nonprofit helping victims of kidnapping and trauma. They'd all transformed their pain into something meaningful. Yunwoo sent a postcard from somewhere in Europe, just a brief note. Living my own normal life now. Thank you for showing me it was possible. Stay happy. Director Kong retired, published a memoir about the case that became a bestseller. He split the proceeds with the victims of the conspiracy, insisted that healing was more important than profit. And Minha and Rachel? They got married in a small ceremony with just their siblings present. No empire, no drama. Just two people promising to love each other through whatever came next. Rachel finished her degree, opened a small practice helping children process trauma. Minha continued his security work, using his experience to help keep people safe. They adopted a dog, a rescue named Lucky who'd been through his own trauma and found a home with them. On their first anniversary, they sat on their balcony watching the sunset, Lucky curled up at their feet. Do you miss it? Rachel asked. The power, the empire, the life you had. Minha considered the question seriously. Sometimes I miss feeling important, feeling like I controlled everything. But then I remember that control was an illusion, and everything I controlled owned me right back. He squeezed her hand. This is better. Smaller, quieter, but real. No regrets. Only that I didn't find you sooner. That we wasted time on tests and games when we could have just been together. Minha kissed her softly. But we got here eventually. That's what matters. Yeah, Rachel agreed, leaning into him. We got here. They sat together as the sky turned colors, as their dog snored softly, as life moved forward in its beautiful, ordinary way. And if sometimes Rachel woke from nightmares about warehouses and gunshots, Minha was there to hold her until the fear passed. And if sometimes Minha struggled with the weight of his past, Rachel was there to remind him who he'd become. They healed together, grew together, built something lasting and real together. It wasn't the life either of them had imagined when they'd met in that Seoul nightclub all those years ago. It was better, because it was theirs. Completely, honestly, permanently theirs. And no conspiracy, no danger, no test or manipulation could ever take that away. If you made it to the end of this 3-part journey, thank you for being here. Drop a comment telling me what you thought. What surprised you? What part had you most stressed? Hit that like button if you love this story, and subscribe to True Soul Stories for more intense romantic dramas that'll keep you up at night. This is Rachel and Minha's story. They survived everything life threw at them and found their way to happiness. Against all odds, through every obstacle, they made it. And sometimes, that's the greatest victory of all. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and remember, love is worth fighting for. Always.